Hi everyone. So I am going to show you guys how to start making the plastic mats. Step one, get your bags. I usually like to start doing this once I have a giant bag full of bags. That way I can make some progress instead of just doing one bag at a time and it taking forever. So you got your bag. I like to make sure that they are right side out because you can put your finger in this corner here and on the handle. Pull that tight, lay it nice and flat, pull that other side tight. I'll actually stack like a good amount of bags on top of each other. So you're gonna cut the bottom off first, then cut all the way as close as you can to the handle to where it'll make a nice straight line without getting like the wavy part or whatever. So then you have this nice square. I like to cut it into thirds because the thicker the strips, the thicker the mat, which makes it more comfortable for whoever I give it to. And of course, sometimes I'll get really big bags that are like twice the size of this. And yes, you can do 5 strips or 6 strips depending on how big the bag is. I just try to make sure they're all kind of like about this thick. I'm not perfect. Like I will cut them and they'll be lopsided and whatnot. It's fine. I try to get rid of the bags that might have food in them or something. Like I said, I'll use as much as possible. Like I said, I'm not perfect. These are clearly not the same size, but that's okay. It'll work. So next, you tie them into the strips. Take one strip. I think people call it a T-knot because you'll bring this other strip through it. It's like a T. And then next, you're just gonna loop the bag through itself, pull it tight. I try to make the knots as small as possible, but don't stretch it too much or it'll rip. But if you can make them smaller, it'll help in the long run when you're crocheting. There, that's a little bit better. Once again, just pull it through. And I'll have a giant stack of bags and I will tie them super long and then I'll end up rolling them into a ball and then they'll turn into like a ball of plastic yarn. I tend to do the bags by colors. It's just easier to line them up and cut them if they're all the same kind of bag. I just found one. It's got this big cut here in the end, but that's okay. I'll just stack it up with all the other bags and I will treat it like a normal bag, cut the bottom off, cut the top off, and then into thirds. And then once I kind of get through my stack and I'm tying them together, I'll come across this, see how it's like barely holding on. Just throw that in the scrap pile, but these 2 pieces are still perfectly good to use. So actually with all the scraps that I have left over, like the handles and the bottoms of the bag, I'll actually just throw them in another bag. Like this one, I don't typically use produce bags, but I'll use them to put my scraps in and then I'll take this to Walmart or somewhere to recycle the rest of the scraps. That way I'm using what I can and what I can't use is still being recycled. So once you have your ball of plarn, I will show you how to crochet it. To start your crocheting, take your plarn, got your loop here. You're gonna put your fingers through it and then you're gonna kind of grab it and then loop it through like that, all right? We got Q size crocheting hook. That goes through this loop, okay? Through the loop, pull it tight, but not too tight. I use my fingers a lot just because it's kind of big and bulky and it makes it easier to kind of maneuver the plastic. So now you're gonna kind of wrap this over top, catch it with the hook, pull it through that first loop, okay? And you're gonna keep doing this. I believe this is called chaining. I don't know all the proper terms, but whatever, it works. So keep doing that. And you don't want these to be super tight because it's gonna make it harder whenever you go to add on your second row and your third row and your fourth row. You want them to be nice and loose. So try not to make them too tight. All right, so like I said, you don't want it to be super tight. You want it to be kind of loose. People like to actually count how many rings they do. I just eyeball it. Okay, this is about long enough. It's past my shoulders. We don't want it to be super big. Keep in mind that it is going to stretch because the very first one that I made, I just kept looking at like, that's not wide enough, that's not wide enough. And then as I started adding on the other rows, it just got wider and wider and wider. And it ended up being this huge mat, and it took me so long to finish. Anyways, you have your first row. So now you got these little loops, right? You can kind of see some space in there. You're gonna take your hook and you're gonna push it through the first hole. So this one's here. I'm gonna push it through this first hole. Wrap the plarn around your hook like you were on chaining. Pull it through that hole, and then you got 2 right here on your hook. Now you're going to not go in a hole. You're gonna stay out, wrap around your hook, and then you're gonna pull it through those 2 loops that were just on your hook. Now you're back to a single. I don't know all the proper terminology. I think it's like singles and doubles. I don't know. Makes it easier for me. All right, so back through the next hole. Wrap it around, pull it through. You got 2 on your hook. Go 1 more, pull it through 2. Got 1 on the hook. Through the hole, around. 2. All right, so I'm coming up here on the end of my chain. You're gonna do one thing a little bit differently, and then it's gonna go right back to what we were doing. Okay, so I'm finishing it off with my double, single. Then you're just gonna do 1 more single. So you're just gonna wrap it around, pull it through. This is gonna be your turning point. I have to flip mine over and go right to left. Now you kind of have like this like V shape. You're gonna go underneath that V in between the first row and the second row. And then it's right back to what we were just doing. You got a double, a single, and then just keep going. Once you get to the end of your plarn, it's super easy to just add on another ball of plarn. You just loop it through like you looped all the bags together. So let's say this is the end of my plarn. This is tied into my mat. Just put it through like a T-knot, take the ball, pull it through, pull it tight, and it extends it on. That's a really cool part about plarn. It's a lot easier than regular yarn to just continue the yarn once you change colors or run out. So now I have a mat. It's from the top of my head a little bit past my knees. I try to make as many mats as possible. That's why I don't make it the full length of my body. Figured it's okay if their shoes hang off the mat. The main part is that their head, their back, their butt, and their thighs are kind of on the squishy surface, and then their calves and feet can hang off. There's a lot fancier way to do this if you guys want to check out some other YouTube videos that people have made. You're gonna finish off here with your coming through on a single. I detach the rest of my plarn. And now I just kind of keep tying knots and weaving it through until the end of this is completely tucked away. I'm just gonna put it through a couple of the holes, tie it in a knot, just like an easy loop knot. I'm gonna put it through another part, tie it through. I'm gonna tie a knot here so it stops it from slipping through the knot for it. Kind of confusing, but you guys kind of get the point. Just keep tying it, tying it, tying it. And then once you have a good base knot, I will just take the rest of this excess through some of the crocheting and just weave it through. And now you have your sleeping mat, waterproof, bug resistant, easily washable. Definitely can keep someone warm. I've had this sit on my lap as I finished the crocheting, and I get warm from it kind of laying on me like a blanket. But yeah, you could fold it, you can roll it up like a yoga mat, whatever, and then find someone to give it to. Most of these bags are from friends or family members. I'm pretty persistent on using my reusable bags. I'm trying to get my family and my friends to use them. They're 99 cents at TJ Maxx. You can buy them at any grocery store. You just fit so many more groceries and stuff in the bag rather than all these single plastic bags. So we don't need plastic bags. They gotta go. So thanks for watching, you guys.